Clerk, can you read the next item, please?
Item number 5, hearing to consider appointing 9 members, terms to be determined, to the voting system task force. There are 9 seats and 7 applicants.
Colleagues, I'm going to call the applicants who are here to come up to present. With that said, I know that some of the stakeholders on this item did send me some frantic emails this week concerned that the item was up and they didn't know that it was going to be up so quick. And I think, Madam Clerk, we've received several additional applications that didn't get in on time for consideration but are at the clerk's office at the moment.
That's correct.
Okay. So, colleagues, we have 7 applicants for 9 seats. We can choose to appoint none or some or all of them. But I do understand that there is a good number of additional applications that came in after the deadline for hearing this. So, but to applicants, if you are here and you come and present today, and if we do continue this, we won't ask you to necessarily come back to the next meeting. So any of the applicants, please come on forward right now and tell us why you're interested in being on the Voting Systems Task Force.
Morning, members of the Rules Committee. My name is Elizabeth Bergman. I have a PhD in political science. I'm an assistant professor of political science at Cal State East Bay in Hayward, and I'm a resident. I study elections, election systems, and election administration. I've been involved with elections in California since 1992. I've been doing research on election systems since 2000 and received numerous grants from multiple organizations for my research. In 2006, I was part of a team that received $378,000 grant from the United States Elections Assistance Commission to study election administration in the U.S. Next month in March, I will present a paper at the Western Political Science Association conference on this topic, and I will do so again. I have an active research agenda as well. My participation on the issue before the Rules Committee to be part of the Voting Systems Task Force is that transparency is critical, not only in voting systems, but in their creation and development as well. And that's why I'd like to offer my expertise as a political scientist to facilitate that and assist the task force and the city. I have no agenda on the issue before that the task force is considering. I'm not employed by any technology firm or consulting to any organization or individuals that have an interest in the outcome that the task force will be considering. My agenda in offering my services to the city, to the board, is threefold: to participate as a member of the larger Cal State East Bay community, sharing knowledge and expertise as needed; to participate as a scholar and continue to contribute research and knowledge to my discipline; and 3, to offer my students learning and networking opportunities in the local community. So I hope that you'll allow me to offer my knowledge and expertise and participate with the Systems Task Force. Thank you.
Professor, thank you so much for your interest. Next applicant.
My name is Brent Turner. I'm a San Francisco native, a citizen currently living in Half Moon Bay, California. I've been involved with the issue of transparency in elections since soon after the 2004 election. I have become associated with many cutting-edge groups that provide information to the government at the local, state, and federal level. We've consulted many legislators, and we attempt to push forward the issue of transparency in elections. I'm glad to serve at the pleasure of the board. I am available on a regular basis and look forward to the experience. We will continue to tender information to San Francisco County, as we believe this is a place for to set the bar for transparency in election systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Next applicant, please.
I'm Daniel Schwartzman. I've been a software engineer for 40 years. And 2 years ago, I became aware of the problem of closed proprietary software being used in election systems. And during the last 2 years, I've appeared before the Board of Supervisors, arguing that the Board of Supervisors needs to do something to free itself from the dependency of proprietary software being used in voting systems. For this purpose, I worked with Open Voting Solutions, a company that was devoted to creating software for elections. And in that process, I was the director of software development for the company, and I did write a proposal for such a system. And in this process, I became aware that it is, in fact, possible for a reasonable price to develop the kind of software that's needed to use off-the-shelf equipment and creating a viable and trustworthy voting system. I am no longer associated with the company, and I don't hold any stock in it any longer. But I believe that we have proven through our research that this is feasible, and we need a task force now to look for the institutional basis for open source software to be used in elections. I believe that San Francisco County has a tradition of being of innovative solutions to problems, and that the way the system of voting works in the United States, it is only a county that can take the initiative. Counties have the ultimate responsibility for elections, and that's what San Francisco should be doing. I believe I have something to contribute in terms of an understanding of the essential problems of the election system. Thank you, supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartzman. Next speaker, please. Next applicant.
Good morning, Chairman Daley and supervisors. May it please the board. My name is Gregory Miller. I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Open Source Digital Voting Foundation. The OSDV is tackling a truly challenging problem of restoring trust in voting machines. The Silicon Valley-based effort known as the Trust the Vote Project is designed in building next-generation voting systems to serve as draft reference standards for how digital voting should work to ensure trust. It's purely a technology trust and a nonprofit research and development organization. It's my position that the cornerstone of our democracy is the vote, and in an increasingly digital age, the substance of that cornerstone is indeed technology. I come from the venture capital community. 2 years of research has informed me that the free market enterprise experiment of proprietary voting technology brought about by the Help America Vote Act has largely failed. In fact, it's my belief that we need to shift away from black box voting and towards glass box voting in order to ensure equal access to everyone, that the votes are correctly and completely counted, and that the accountability loops exist to ensure integrity. And it may be the only way to restore trust in voting technology. Excuse me. So I'm very interested in supporting the efforts to carefully examine the state of voting systems technology and requirements of truly trustworthy election equipment processes, the supply chain for the same, and the potential for potentially open sourcing that technology. In terms of my qualifications, I've 28 years professional experience in the technology industry, divided roughly equally between engineering and software development, marketing, business development, and the practice of law and intellectual property and technology policy. So I feel this is an incredibly important issue that, as stated by the previous candidate, that really deserves attention at the county level. And I've been asked by counties in different states to come and speak on this very issue because of the work of the Digital Voting Foundation in examining these things on a holistic basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next applicant, please.
Good morning. Tim Mayer. I've been a resident in San Francisco for 30 years. Been involved in voting activism for the last 2 years. I'm president of the San Francisco Election Integrity League, and I've been involved with the OVC as well, Open Voting Consortium. And I've attended, any untold amount of meetings with the Election Commission. So I've listened to all of the issues with respect to particularly the purchase of the Sequoia equipment and so on. I'm quite familiar with software applications, generally speaking, not specifically necessarily, although over the last 2 years I have a tremendous now amount of information, but I have 25 years perhaps of software application for volume processing and so on. So I'm quite confident of my ability to contribute in assessing, the relative risks and benefits associated with capturing and counting our vote. And really, that's what's important here. What's been going on over the last, perhaps even 15 years, and some people say 100 years with machine-operated voting, is it's gotten quite ridiculous in that we can't get our arms around knowing whether or not votes are counting legitimately and so on. And so I think that this is an absolute beautiful moment for us to explore the possibility of getting our arms around being able to actually count our vote and being assured that those that voted can depend upon their vote being counted just as they intended. And that's pretty much my motivation here, because I think voting is the most important issue that we have in front of us, because if we don't have the vote, what do we have? Nothing, actually. And I think pretty much that's it. Of course, I've worked additionally, and I don't know whether this is important, but you have a few members here that I've worked with quite closely, Brent Turner and Mr. Green and so on. And so I'm quite confident that us working together, we can come up with a tremendous amount of information and tender a whole lot of solution to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next speaker, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Roger Donaldson, and I appreciate being here and being considered for this. I think that this task force is extremely important, not only for San Francisco, but the country. It's important that we get this right, that we get qualified people on this board, on this task force, and I think that they can produce something very meaningful, not just for San Francisco and the success of our electoral process, but overflow to other areas and set that example. In terms of the other things that are out there, the various voting companies that are out there, there's been all kinds of problems. Even with the existing Sequoia equipment here, we've seen that it's much less than perfect. Plus, these companies are not doing very well. They're being sold off. They're having difficulty maintaining themselves as going concerns. So this is extremely important. In terms of my qualifications, I was one of the principal authors. I was the principal author of this resolution, working with other people. And I also have worked in the software industry and working with software for over 20 years. I have been working in elections and around issues of election systems since the 2004 election, and have been trying to work with the Election Commission. And part of the reason we decided to do this task force and work through this was the fact that we really need to focus on this, that the Election Commission, this is out of their purview. I feel that I can contribute a lot to this. I have a breadth of experience not only in software and election systems and election processes, but also in terms of, I've got a master's in public administration and also in procurement, and I think that's important when you're thinking about the requirements that might go into any future RFPs. So I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other applicants for the Voting Systems Task Force? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open this up to public comment. Does any member of the public wish to comment on item number 5? Seeing.
May mention one other person, Greg Miller, was going to be here to speak, but his plane flight was supposed to come in at 9:15. He may have been delayed, but he had intended to be here, just to let you know.
He did speak.
Spoke.
Okay. So I think that's it for public comment. Colleagues, as I understand it from our clerk, there's been probably 7 additional applications that just did not make it in by the deadline. I think I would probably be comfortable with a few of the applicants that appeared today, but I think it may make sense to hear from the other applicants. So colleagues, Supervisor Chu.
Thank you, Chair Daley. That does make sense, but I do want to ask a couple questions of individuals who are applying, since we have you here and in the situation where we might continue this item rather than call you back again. Just a question for Mr. Donaldson. You are here. Mr. Donaldson? Just a couple questions. There's a number of seats that you are qualified to fill. You can fill potentially the good government role, you can fill the computer science background role, or the elections administration role. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, is there a preference of any of these seats that you feel you're particularly qualified?
I think the preference would probably be the computer science, and secondarily the election, and then
Election administration?
Yes, election administration. Yes.
Thank you. And I would also like to ask Ms. Elizabeth Bergman also the same question. There are two seats, two types of seats in which you potentially would qualify. One would be for the good government group, and the second one is for the election administration.
Election administration.
Thank you.
Supervisor, any colleagues, what's your pleasure?
If I may, Mr. Chair, my sense is that it probably makes sense to continue this matter, given that there are more applicants. That's not to take away from any of the people who have spoken, and we have some pretty impressive folks who have come forward and expressed an interest, but I think that just to, in terms of having a fair process, it makes sense to me to continue until the next meeting.
Supervisor Chu?
Just a clarification. From my understanding, Madam Clerk, there were a number of applicants who submitted applications after the deadline. Is that correct?
After the agenda was created. And
After the
finalized.
agenda, so there's not after any particular deadline?
Right.
Okay, great. There's a couple of individuals I would be comfortable with moving forward, but if it's the will of the board or this committee
up to you.
You know, if we're not going to make, this is a new task force, so if we're not going to make 5 or more appointments, it may just make sense to hold off until next time.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of very good qualified candidates in this
Absolutely.
round, so definitely would love to see some of you serve, but would be willing to wait until the next meeting to hear what other individuals have applied.
Okay, then I'm going to take Supervisor Campos's statement as a motion to continue
So moved.
this item. Can we do that without objection to our next meeting? Applicants are welcome to come back to our next meeting, which I believe will be on the 5th, but you also, if you've testified, we'll remember you next time, so you don't have to come back. That's the order of the committee. Madam Clerk, can you read the next item, please?